Yep, we're good.
Okay. Hi, my name is Kaucher. I'm from Reading, Pennsylvania. Can you hear me? Is this on? Well, this is it. Let's start with a haiku. In a silent poem, there will be only water reflecting the moon. In a silent poem, there will be only water reflecting the moon. So, this is from, excuse me, I'll read this first. This is my tribute to Jack Kerouac and the Beat Poets. It's called Jack. Awaken, old conspirators of dawn. Let us celebrate the drunken poets, now dead with Dionysian wine of Tokay, who wandered off woeful mountains, collected rocks for cairns and haiku, built temples of words from thin air, carved magical myths of the Dharma from senseless stumbles in the night. Awaken to prove that Scripture cannot be revealed but must be lived, so that even one's cells reflect the Spirit. The Scripture is inspired and torturous, inferred from the context of suffering, but represents complete uninhibited punch, pure emancipated pow, illuminated wow. For light craves nothing but darkness. Though radiant swirls of color, theatrical and thick, penetrate skies with sighs of experience, the truth has been negotiated far beyond and long before in dusky roadside bars, boxcars beneath stars, rhyming mad deliriums. The bodhisattvas of booze, delegating an apportioned purity in a smack of tea, skinny dipping salvation by bongo beat and sweet philosophical junk. Thank you. That was from my most recent book. So anyway, yes, I'm Carl Kaucher. I came in from Reading at the invite of Bob and Pen and Pencil, so thank you very much for having me. I've been writing for most of my life. A lot of my poems are place poems, which I'm also a photographer, so I like to travel around and wander through places and do photography, and also write of my experiences. But I also branch out from there, as in this poem, which is from my second collection, which was entitled Postponed. And it was at a time when I thought I was a wave, but see, really I was an ocean, as we're all just like waves in the ocean. This is called Of Waves. An ocean of silence permeates a dream in perspectives of wave, like a spasmodic swell erupting from a deep sea, bubbling cauldron of bliss, caressed by silvery moonlight, reflective on the dark waters of wisdom. I am floating within the waves, amidst one sea of many currents that whip turbulent furies of white foam upon a gale spray, so that I can't even speak of sometimes ascending to crest or brutally plunging to a crash, smashed on a rocky shore. Then arising in consciousness once more, amongst swarms of jellyfish as seabirds punctuate this phrase with a deep dive. God help me, I'm alive, but breaking up again, yet it is only then that I become free. Free to be, just to see. And though the tidal drift religiously flows, my errant current spirals whirlpools too far below, into the inky darkness, across the abyssal plains, past antediluvial caves where all the lost waves eventually go. Thank you. It was a wave. I'll interject stuff about myself as I'm reading along. This is about an experience. I don't know if you ever had that experience when you have that brief encounter with somebody and that person has a very strong persona about them, a strong personality, and leaves a lasting impression on you. Well, I had an experience like that up in Maine one time, and I wrote this about it. Very tragic young lady that I ran across. It's called Cut Girl. As if the pain were inseparable from the stagnant air, or the waves of gravity flowing from her coal black hair, her pale skin the color of death, accenting a dagger-pierced nose and brow, her glossed black lips snarled beneath cold weapon-like eyes, all blank on a dank day, and a nowhere song sung like the random knife cuts up and down her arm. Scars that stitched the air with tragedy and carved reality into the solitude of her desolate mind. Those savage Gothic eyes, passionately glaring in despair, soothed, blissfully turbulent and radioactive. And every word she spoke madly adorned the sadness of her soul with enmity. For the enemy was conceptually me, and she was the number 7, dressed in black, playing chess with the devil like a character in an Ingmar Bergman film tattooed to her left thigh. I wonder who promised her salvation, cashiering in a drugstore in Bar Harbor, Maine, where I stopped in for a beer, all parched and worn on a warm summer's day, dying as the sun wept crimson sighs settling behind dark magenta clouds on the horizon, and bled. Its tears collected along the razor's edge when the red droplets flowered and flowed, and I know she wanted to kill me. You see, I'd be the revenge for a dark love crafted in her crazy dreams, yet I wanted to tell her that I loved her, but could manage only a mollified pity that felt dirty and shitty, so I had to get away. You know, if suicide does save the last cut, girl, I'm hoping that somehow this poem might still keep you alive. Thank you. So, as I mentioned, I'm from Reading, Pennsylvania. That's the third time, I guess. And Reading is also known as is the birthplace of a pretty famous poet. Maybe you've heard of him, Wallace Stevens. And a couple of folks. And his home's still there. I think he's still a private residence, actually. Well, in that same time frame, there was another poet from Reading who was a very decent poet, was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. Didn't receive the notoriety of Wallace, but I think was every bit as good. And his name was Byron Vizakis. His grave is near my house. You've heard of him? You've heard of Byron Vizakis?
You read this, Paul.
Oh, I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah, you sent me his bio.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I'm sorry.
Yes,
Pardon me.
yes.
I'm old and adult. So anyway, well, Joe knows. Anyway, I sat on his tombstone and I wrote this poem, kind of trying to channel his energy. So I dedicated it to him. It's called Cafe Waldorf for Byron Vizakis. A flame perfectly formed at the wick is the definition of a candle. Aspects of gray adorn the dying day like wisps of cigarette smoke dissipate into an afterthought. A pool of soft orange light seeps through the kitchen window onto a snow-filled yard bounded by a chain-link fence glowing under a crescent moon as the sword tip of Orion stabs shimmering towards the south. February weeps the winter blues, but it's only a metaphor of a dream I was using as reality, where the layers of illusion are dissolved into a happy hour, watching some sad, stricken sod crumple her letter into a ball while drinking another shadow formed by late afternoon lagers, indifferent to the struggles of a fly stuck in a spider's web, deep in the dank, dusty corners of a dimly lit bar. The bartender wipes the bar with a dirty rag as the ceiling fan slowly spins. The man's head hangs forward as a bit of drool drips from the lips onto the crumpled letter, and the ink runs into a memory as a dog laps spilt beer off the floor. So much of what appears solid dissolves upon closer inspection, fades away into nothingness, dissipates into silence. The dim candle's light illuminates another glass of beer as ice crystals on the window unfold their frozen feathery fingers formed from the vast recesses of space into these spiritual nights of still air caressed by moonbeams of drunkenness, meditating the essence of boredom. Night descends into thought as the pen madly scribes sorrowful sobs of howl onto plain white paper, petitioning a prayer of forgiveness in words never to be read by her. As his fingers fondle the empty glass, the web drifts in a draft hardly discerned in the last measures of a symphony called A Restless Night Transfigured. And I stole the last part of that line from his tombstone. Thank you. He wrote, one of his more famous poems was called Transfigured Night, and when he passed, his brother had to put on his tombstone backwards as Night Transfigured. I can't recall the reason why, but that's what happened. That's where I got that. So, thank you, Byron, wherever you are. Okay, what was that? So this next three are place poems, which is what I was kind of talking about earlier. This is about another encounter I had on an empty sidewalk up in Nanticoke, Pennsylvania, which is about maybe 10, 15 miles outside of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. It's called Nanticoke. Things have been quiet since the pen ran out of ink, but I shall begin again by describing bare trees fingering a dense fog near Nanticoke, Pennsylvania. These words are the branches and limbs and the clouds now breaking to wind, suffering through the autumnal equinox, as the way unfolded to an empty sidewalk I was walking down. A distant, solitary figure becomes the stranger now upon me, and when our paths cross, I recognize myself in her eyes, in a chance glance. But she quickly looks away before I can finish this sentence, and I'm left wondering and fervently hoping for an exclamation point, but as usual end up with ellipses. Now my head's all full of things, sitting in an empty room, wrapping the blues in my bones, chiseling thoughts into poems, staring at the stained carpet, peeling wallpaper, dirty windows, and the petrified carcass of a fly that died years before I too shall petrify. It's only now that I realize, since I've been asleep for years, that I relished our meeting. I think about the journey each of us traveled, the decisions we made that brought us to the point of passing outside of Uncle Larry's plumbing shop, straggling our souls down Front Street all lonely and suspicious. And the only word, hello. But for a moment, our lives were one. Yeah, thank you. That's Nanticoke. If you could bear with me for three more. These are from my most recent book, more place poems. Wandering Cities. Wandering cities encumbered by macadam, take care not to stumble nor drag your heels down that old dead-end street where no one knows you suffer, but instead be focused and keep your pocket knife sharp and a pen and paper at the ready and a pipe. At the ready, no, those were, to cut the poetics from the jungle of words. No, never cut across the tracks, but go down the rails to the asylum of creativity, where spirituality mingles with the blood and the germinal flow of language as the syllables clot into a god no one worships anymore. The way more closely resembles a crumbling stone wall near an old cemetery where the tombstones are all faded aphorisms of boring dead philosophers and cannot be read, yet alone felt or inferred from the sizzling microchips of modernity, yet still somehow matter. And when awakening, embrace the madness as if a mystic symphony underlies the noise, because no matter where you go, it's all the same rack and ruin, boink, ping. So sing, baby. Why not sing, baby? Sing. Everything is as you have chosen. Ride the night train into the city on a bottle of Thunderbird and get all wise on desolation. Roam through the neighborhoods of your mind. Stagger as a stranger. Flick your lizard tongue and slip it into the shadows as the neighbors pull back the blinds but shutter the doors of perception. Thank you. I did say, up in my area, I don't know if you've heard that, but when they finish a poem up there, they say poem. That happen?
You have to tap the mic too.
Tap it. Poem.
Not like spastically, just once.
Okay, all right. I prefer spastic.
Wait, why do you do that?
What's that?
Why do you do that? Poem?
Poem. Instead of saying like thank you or something, so people know that it's over and you're not going to mumble on for hours and more. So anyway, this was written from a park bench out front of the county courthouse in Scranton, Pennsylvania, just observing the scene. So, from the park bench, here's what I saw. Scranton. The man seated at the table situated on the sidewalk in front of the Northern Light Cafe, reads a newspaper, while an artist with his easel paints the whole scene expressive of a late summer flow, adulated by the warm sun, as someone scrubs stickers off a gray electrical box at the corner of Adams and Spruce. The artist keeps his canvases in a shopping cart sitting by the trash can, beset by a few dozen yellow jackets interested in the sticky and sweet dribbling dross of soda cups and food wrappers slathered with ketchup. As this sticker scraper sings a song of the earth's explosive desire to live, to spawn beatitudes far beyond the perspective of two young teens passing by and giggled snickers of cell phone stares. The streets are unfolding stories of I am free like that plastic cup tumbling down the gutter in a gentle breeze. While I'm pondering fire escapes 10 floors high, a jet aircraft traverses the sky, high above the shadows of leaves dancing on the concrete. As across the street, 144 windows reflect multiple facets of light like a shimmering architectural jewel. Then church bells rang. Two evangelical proselytes prostitute an orgasm of free spiritual dove in a pamphlet that says, the only reason that you are breathing right now is because of God. It was written like an extinct language no one speaks of anymore, so there was only silence between us, and that, I feel, is a more spiritual beauty of awakening in the public square, where the homeless dream of pigeons circling the poem unfolding in passing traffic. Enlightened, the prophet of mumbled undertones, kicking stones, roams the intersection by the beer store, looking for a handout. He has a cardboard sign of the times they are changing, as the artist rustles in the cart for a blank canvas and a new take on the scene of the ever-unfolding perspective of the sun's obdurate blaze, as the man at the table folds up his paper and slowly walks away. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.